Let's get going.
Let's
Okay.
go with
Yoma.
Yoma.
Okay, we're starting with here Gimel Vav.
Yeah.
They brought him to the parva chamber, which was in the holy area. They spread a linen sheet between him and the people. He washed his hands and feet and then undressed. Rameir said, first he undressed and then he washed his hands and feet. He went down and immersed himself, ascended and dried himself. They brought him white vestments and he dressed and then washed his hands and feet. In the morning, he put on Pelusian linen worth 12 mana, and in the afternoon, Indian linen worth 800 zuz. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. But the sages say in the morning he donned linen worth gone 18 mana, and in the afternoon, linen worth 12 mana, all worth together 30 mana. These amounts came from the public treasury, but that if he wishes to add to these amounts, he may do so from his own. He then comes to his ox, and his ox was standing between the antechamber and the altar, his head to the south and the face to the west. The Kohen Gadol stands to the east of the ox, facing west, and he supports both his hands upon it, and he confesses. He would then say the following: I beg of you, Hashem, I have acted wickedly, rebelled, and sinned before you, I, and my household. I beg of you, Hashem, forgive me now the wicked acts, the rebellions, and sins, for I have acted wickedly, rebelled, and sinned before you, I and my household, as is written in the Torah of your servant Moses, for on this day he will return for you. Then he will answer after him, blessed is the name and the glory of his kingship forever and ever. Okay. That was three, I
Mishna
think.
test, yeah. Balo Olam Mizrach Azara. Okay, so now the Kohen Gadol comes to the eastern part of the Azara. It's Tzfona Mizbech, so towards the north of the Mizbech, and this is the place where they normally do the shechita. That's the normal place for the shechita of the Kodesh Kodeshim, of the Kodesh Kodeshim, right? Haskan Mimino. So the deputy Kohen is standing to his right. Rosh Beis Av Mismolo, and the head of whichever shift of Kohanim is on duty for that week is standing on his left hand side. Basham Shnei Seirim, and there are the two goats, right? The one, and we don't know which one is going to be which yet, but we're about to find out. Okay, Sham Shnei Seirim, the Kalpi Hai Sa Sham, and he had a box. Now the Kalpi, this is probably where the modern word of Kalpi comes from, where you go to vote. Right, the box that you put your vote into is called the Kalpi. But that in the Mishnah, it's a box. Okay. And there were two lots inside it. Shall Eshkero Hayu, it's made out of boxwood. The Asan ben Gamla Shel Zahav, and a fellow called Ben Gamla made a donation to the Mikdash and took and plated the box of the lots with gold. And they said, well done, thank you, shkoyach. That's a very much appreciated contribution to the Mikdash. And that sends us off onto a tangent. Okay, now that we see that Ben Gamla came and made a contribution to the Mikdash, here are some other people who made some notable contributions to the Mikdash, says in Mishnah Yud. Ben Katin, whoever he was, but his name was Ben Katin, Asa Shnei Masar Dad Lakior. So he made a laver with 12 spigots,
Right.
so the Kohanim could wash more in parallel. Whereas before it was just a single spigot, so the Kohanim were all lining up to use it, and now he made the process more efficient. Shelo hayulo ela shnaim. Oh, beforehand there were only two spigots. Okay, but and furthermore, he made another little chiddush. He made a mechanism for the labor, because what's the problem that they have is that when water is in a temple vessel, it becomes puzzle overnight.
Right.
If it's sitting, however, in the river or in a pond or whatever, that stays fine always. So what he wanted to do was make it so it's nice and efficient, and you could easily get water from a place that could be used again and again. And he devised a water wheel that was placed above the pond. So the water wheel went down through the floor of the Mikdash to the pond and brought the water back up to the laver. Okay. So that it would never become puzzle from staying overnight. So this was Ben Katin who made these contributions to the labor.
It was a Kohen Gadol sin.
Um,
And no one says it says it was a Kohen Gadol.
was Ben Cutting also a Kohen Gadol? That's
It says
interesting.
Ben Cutting
Why
was a
did that?
Kohen Gadol made this improvement in the Kior.
Mhm. That's right. He was a Ben Cutting. See what it says. Yeah, yeah, that's right. He was a Kohen Gadol. I missed that in the commentary. It's correct. Okay. Munbaz HaMelech. I love the name, just by the way. Munbaz. So he was a king of Chadaib, which is a country to the north of Aram Naharaim. So basically in the sort of Georgia area. Okay, so
It's
he was
the name sounds like one of those, like an African tribe kind of thing. It
right.
doesn't.
So he was a foreign king, but he was a friend of the Jewish people, and he decided that he wanted to make a contribution to the Mikdash. So what did he do? "Hu haya oseh kol yedos hakelim shel Yom Kippurim shel zahav." So everything that was used on Yom Kippur, all the handles were turned into gold. Now that was talking about the Gemara explains that this is talking about a kalim that it's impossible to make the kalim themselves out of gold. For example, the knives
Mhm.
and shovels. You know, their gold isn't going to work well because it's going to melt. So
Right.
where you couldn't make the actual kli itself out of gold, he made the handles out of gold. Okay. Hilni Imo. So the mother of Munbaz was Hilni. Asa Nivreshes Shel Zahav. By the way, this is the same Hilni who became a Nazira.
Right.
And she came having completed her 7 years of Naziris.
So really,
And they said to her, I'm sorry, you know, you were in Chutz La'aretz the whole time, you're still Tameh. Right.
sure she's thrilled.
Yes, most unfortunate, right. Um, okay, so what did she do? Asasani Breshes shel Zahav al Pischo shel Heichal. She made a candelabra over the entrance of the Heichal of gold, and it shone with incredible radiance. He asasat tavla shel zahav. She also made a table of gold. She parasha sota ketsuva aleha, and the parsha of the sota was written on this table, so that the Kohen would be able to write from it, to copy from it the Megillat Sota when he needed to. Okay. Nicanor, famous story about Nicanor. Na'asu nisim ledal sosav. The gates of the sanctuary, those big copper gates at the just at the entrance of the Azara, between the Ezras Nashim and the Azara, there were two giant copper gates, um, and the doors, and they were brought from Alexandria. Um, right, you know the famous story where he brought them on the ship, and there was a storm at sea, and he didn't want to throw them overboard, but they said, "Listen, we're going to all drown. Just throw one overboard." So he threw one overboard, and the storm didn't abate. And then and everyone else on the ship said, "Throw everything overboard. Come on, we got to do this." And he said, "If you're throwing these overboard, throw me with it." Um, so they threw him overboard with the door, and miracle happened that he floated to shore. And while he was floating there, he was cursing himself and thinking, "Why didn't I do this with the first door?" And he landed on the shore of Eretz Israel, floating on this copper door that should never have floated. And next to him on the sand was the other door that had also washed up on the shore. So those were put onto the Mikdash, and they never. And while there was a temptation to recover them with gold, they said, "No, no, these copper doors stay the way they are because they remind us of the miracle that happened to this fellow Nicanor." By the way, the name Nicanor is apparently quite a common Greek name because there were a lot of Nicanors during the Hanukkah story who were not necessarily on the right side. But this particular Nicanor was a good guy. V'hayu mazkirin oso lishvach. So all of these people that were mentioned in this Mishnah are remembered with praise. Va'elu lignai. And on the other hand, there were some people who were very prominent in the Beis Hamikdash, but did not behave as Chazal expected. Shall base Garmu, right? The family of Garmu were the ones responsible for baking the showbread. But they didn't want to teach anyone else. There was a special skill required to get the showbreads baked in that funny U shape, right? So
Right,
even more than a U shape, it had like it was curved over on the top, and there was a particular talent, a particular trick that they had to do to make it bake perfectly like that. and they refused to let go of the secret of how they did that. Shall base of Tinas. The family of Avtinas were responsible for the Ketores, for preparing the Ketores. Laura Tula Lamed al Maase Ketores, and they wouldn't teach anybody else. Also kept the secret completely under wraps. Hugras ben Levi, Haya Yoder Perek Bashir, he knew how to sing nicely. Okay. Velora Tala Lamed, and he wouldn't teach anyone else how to sing. Ben Kamtsar, he was a scribe. Lo Ratza Lilamed al Maase Kasav. He had this particular talent. He could hold four quills between his fingers and write one word simultaneously while adjusting his fingers to write all the letters together. Now that's a nice party trick. But at any rate, I don't know if the criticism was that he wouldn't teach anyone his party trick, or just the fact that he didn't want to teach anyone the art of being a scribe.
Right.
Ala Rishonim, on the first ones it says Zeichet Tzadik Livracha. So and Va'al Elu Ne'emar V'Shem Shaim Riokav. But on the latter ones it says that the name of the wicked should rot. Now it's quite harsh on these people over here. And on the simple reading, the Zeichet Tzadik Livracha is going on the people in the previous Mishnah. But there is an opinion stated in the Gemara that actually the people of Beis Garmu, the bakers and the incense makers, came to Chazal and said, "Listen, we have a reason why we don't want to let the secret out, because if we let it out, Chas v'shalom to somebody who is not trustworthy, they might use these secrets to serve avodah zarah. So that's why we're keeping it as something only to be kept for people who we know are kosher." And Chachamim said, "Oh, okay, that's okay." So so that's what this Mishnah is saying. Al Rishonim nimar zechet tzadik livracha. So they had a good reason why
Right.
why not to give it, but the latter ones did not have a good reason. I don't know. I don't think. Ben Kamtsar. Ben Kamtsar couldn't find a good reason. Wait, Hugras ben Levi, did he have a reason? Uh, so so according to so in a Braisa in the Gemara, it says that all of them came up with a good excuse for the rabbis that they accepted, except for Ben Kamtsar, and he's the one who is told Shemer Shaim Yerkav. Okay, let's go back to Shkalim Chesches.
Okay. I have Aleph Aleph.
Let me just check that then, because I do have Chesches. Or you might maybe because we just finished. Wait a second. To Shi'ar there, and no. Okay, so we're gonna finish Shekalim, the last Mishnah in Shekalim, and then start Yoma.
Back in Aleph Aleph. That's why I had that. Right?
That's right.
Okay. Go. Yes. Yes. Hey.
Yeah.
Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said,
No. Ches. Evarei Tamid.
Right. The limbs of the daily offering were placed on the lower half of the ramp of the western side. Those of the additional offerings were placed on the lower half of the ramp on the eastern side. And the laws regarding the firstborn animals both apply both in the temple era and the most temple era. If one consecrates schalim or first fruits, they are consecrated. Reb Shimon says if one consecrates first fruits, they are not consecrated. And that.
Okay. Hadran alach ma'asekes shkalim. Okay, back to beginning of Yoma. Aleph Aleph.
7 days before Yom Kippur, they sequester the Kohen Gadol from his house to the official's chamber, and they prepare another Kohen to serve as a substitute, lest he become disqualified. Yehuda says they also prepare another wife for him, lest his wife die, for it is said, and he shall make atonement for himself and for his house, that is his wife. They said to him, if so, there is no end to the matter. Okay. It's just one we're doing, correct?
And one more.
Okay. On all of these 7 days, he throws the blood, turns the incense, prepares the lamps, and offers the head and the hind leg. On all the other days of the year, he wishes to offer any sacrifice he may offer it, for the Kohen Gadol has the first right to offer and the first right to take a portion. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and we are on Pesachim.
Mhm.
Okay, Zion Gimel.
Yes.
If he
Yes.
smeared it with oil of truma,
You're
the
right.
group is right. I know. The group is composed of Kohanim. They may eat. If it is composed of Israelites, then it is raw. He must rinse it, but if it is roasted, he must par the outside. If he smeared it with oil of the second tithe, its value may not be charged to the members of the company, and the second tithe may not be redeemed in Yerushalayim. 5 things may be offered in a state of contamination, but may not be eaten in a state of contamination. The omer, the two loaves, the panim breads, public peace offerings, and the he goats of the new moons. But the Pesach offering that is offered in contamination may be eaten in contamination because its original purpose is only for eating. If the flesh the Pesach offering became contaminated, but the fat remained uncontaminated, one may not throw the blood. If the fat became contaminated, but the flesh remained uncontaminated, he throws the blood. But in the case of other sacrificed animals, it is not so. Rather, even when the flesh becomes contaminated and the fat remains uncontaminated, he throws the blood. Okay.
Shabbos.
And Shabbos. We have Beis Hay. Beis Hay. One who extinguishes a lamp because he fears idolaters, because of bandits, because of melancholy, or if a sick person may fall asleep, he's exempt. But if he does so to spare the lamp, to spare the oil, to spare the wick, he's liable. Rabbi Yossi exempts in all these cases except that of the wick because he makes it into charcoal. The 3 transgressions women die during their childbirth because they are not careful regarding the laws of Nida, Chala, and kindling the Sabbath light. A man must say 3 things in his home on the eve of the Sabbath just before dark. Have you tithed? Have you prepared the Erev and kindled the Sabbath light? If there is doubt whether it is dark or it is not dark, we may not tithe definitely untithed produce, nor may we invest vessels, but we may kindle the light, so we may tithe demai, make an Arab, and insulate our food. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Did you know, by the way, last Friday was the last early Shabbos? 4:53.
Yeah, makes sense.
I tried to get him to keep it another week or two, but I failed.
Well, the sun's coming down so much earlier. It's really
I
not.
know. I know. Regarding one who inserts his hands into a house afflicted with tzaraas, his hands are tummy to the first degree. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva, but they can come and say his hands are tummy to the degree of sheni. Anyone who renders clothes tummy during the time of his contact with the source of tuma renders hands tummy causing them to become tummy to the first degree. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva, but they can come and say he causes them to become tummy to the degree of sheni. They said to Rabbi Akiva, where do we find anywhere that his hands are first degree of tuma? He said to them, how is it possible for them to be first degree of tuma unless his entire body becomes tummy besides these cases? Food and articles that become tummy from liquids render hands tummy, causing them to become tummy to the degree of sheni. These are the words of Rabbi Yeshua. But we come and say, and that which became tummy through contact with the avatuma renders hands tummy, but that which became tummy through contact with the derived tuma does not render hands tummy. Rabbi Shimon Gamaliel said there was an incident concerning a woman who became before my father. She said to him, my hands entered into the airplace of an earthenware vessel. He said to her daughter, my daughter, what was the source of the tumor? But I did not hear what she said to him. We can come and said, the matter is clear. That which became tummy through an avatuma renders hands tummy, but that which became tummy through derived tumor does not render hands tummy. Okay. If anything that disqualifies tumor renders hands tummy, causing them to become tummy to the degree of sheni, one hand can render its pair tummy. But these are the words of Rabbi Yeshua. But they can come and say, a sheni does not create another sheni. He said to them, but they are not kivsei kodesh to the degree of sheni, and yet they render hands tummy. They said to him, we cannot introduce the words from the Torah or words from the scribes, no words from the scribes, no words from the Torah, no words from the scribes from words of the scribes. Okay.
One more.
Straps of tefillin that are together with tefillin render tummy hands that touch them. Reb Shimon says straps of tefillin do not render tummy hands that touch them. Okay.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Priestess. And priestess we are, and head above. There was a place of caleb and a piece of sanctified fat. I'm sorry. If there was a piece of caleb and a piece of sanctified fat, if he ate one of them and is not known which one of the ate, he must bring an asham tulei. If he ate the second piece, he must bring a katos and a conditional asham, unconditional asham. If one person ate the first piece and the other came and ate the second piece, this one must bring an asham tulei and the other must bring an asham tulei. Reb Shimon says they both bring a katos and an asham, and Reb Yoshi says 2 do not bring a katos and an asham. If there was a piece of Caleb and a piece of sanctified Caleb, if one ate of them and is not on which of one of they, he must bring a katos. The Akiva says he must bring an asher tule, and if he ate the second piece, he must bring two katos and an unconditional asham. If one person ate the first piece and another came and ate the second piece, this one must bring a katos and that must bring a katos. The Akiva says this must bring an asham tule, and that must bring an asher tule. The Shimon says this one brings a katos and that one brings a katos, and both must bring one asham. Rabbi Yossi says two do not bring one asham. If there was a piece of Caleb and a piece of Caleb that was no sir, if he ate one of them and is not known which of them he ate, he must bring a katos and asham tule. If he ate the second piece, he must bring three katos. If one person ate the first piece and another came and ate the second piece, this one must bring a katos and asham tule, and that one must bring a katos and asham tule. Reb Shimon says this one brings a katos and that one brings a katos, and both must bring a third katos. Yossi says any katos that comes from a sin, two may not bring it.
Okay.
And we are on to Babakam. Okay. Zion hay. If he sold it except for 1/100th of it, or if he had joint ownership in it, if he slaughtered it and became disqualified, he pierced his nostrils and tore out the throat organs. If he pays the twofold payment, but he does not pay the four or fivefold payment. If one stole in the owner's premises and slaughtered or sold outside the premises, or if he stole outside the premises and slaughtered or sold within the premises, if he stole and slaughtered outside the premises, he must pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. But if he stole and slaughtered or sold in the premises, he is exempt. If he was taking it out by dragging and he died in the premises of the owner, he is exempt. If he lifted it or if he took it out of the owner's premises and it died, he is liable. If he gave for redemption of his firstborn, or for his creditor, or for an unpaid guardian, for a borrower, to a paid guardian, a renter, and he was dragging it and it died in the premises of the owners, he is exempt. If he lifted it or took it out of the owner's premises and it died, he is liable. We may not raise small cattle in Eretz Yisrael, but we may raise them in Syria or in the wildernesses that are in Eretz Yisrael. We may not raise chickens in Yerushalayim because of the consecrated things, nor may Kohanim throughout all Eretz Yisrael because of the ritually clean foods. In no place may we raise swine. A person may not raise a dog unless it's bound with a chain. We may not spread nets for doves unless it's dirty, risk from an inhabited place. Okay.
And we're done.
Do you want to do tomorrow on the same time? You'll call me around